Breaking news. Russian border cities in Crimea hit worse as missile and drone attacks escalated by Kyiv. As the air war between Vladimir Putin's forces and Kyiv's forces heats up, Russia's border city of Belgorod has been hit by a new barrage of missiles fired by Ukraine, following Moscow's largest aerial assault of the almost two-year war late in December. Ukraine and Russia have exchanged hundreds of drone and missile strikes in recent days. The Ukrainian capital Kyiv and the city of Kharkiv in the east were also attacked by Russian forces on Tuesday. The Interior Ministry reported that around 120 people were hurt, and at least 5 individuals were killed, according to Russia's defense ministry. 12 missiles were fired at the small territory of Belgorod Oblast, which borders northeast Ukraine, by Ukraine in the early hours of Wednesday morning. All rockets were supposedly neutralized, they stated. South of the Black Sea Fleet's home in the Crimean port city of Sevastopol, Mikhail Razvozhev, who was selected by the Kremlin, reported that a missile had been shot down overnight. On Wednesday, Russia claimed credit for shooting down 12 missiles launched toward an area in the south of the country that borders Ukraine. This comes as the Ukrainian military tries to shame Russia and disprove President Vladimir Putin's claim that nothing has changed after the 22-month conflict. Belgorod, a border city that was shelled twice on Wednesday morning, remains tense, according to Regional Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov's telegram message. Air defense systems worked, he announced, assuring that he will check the area later in the day during Russia's New Year's vacation week to provide further specifics about any damage. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that late Tuesday, Ukraine launched 2 Tochka-U missiles and 7 rockets toward the region. On Wednesday, they launched 6 Tochka-U missiles and 6 Vilka rockets. Over the past few days, attacks on the Russian side of the border have grown in frequency and severity. Ukrainian artillery fire, rockets, mortar rounds, and drones launched from dense forests where they are hard to detect have occasionally targeted border settlements during the war. As of late, in response to Russian missile and drone attacks on Ukrainian cities, the military forces in Kyiv have targeted the regional seat of Belgorod, located approximately 100 kilometers, 60 miles, north of Kharkiv, the second largest city in Ukraine. Recent images from Ukraine are displayed here. Volodymyr Zelensky informed Prime Minister Rishi Sunak about Russia's aggression against Ukraine on Tuesday night, stating that in the last 5 days, troops loyal to Vladimir Putin have launched at least 500 missiles and drones at the nation. The ongoing air terror attacks by Russia on Ukrainian cities was discussed with UK Prime Minister at Rishi Sunak. Speaking on Tuesday night, Mr. Zelensky thanked the UK for their substantial and comprehensive aid in bolstering Ukraine's air defense, particularly with radars, advanced anti-drone systems, and missiles. He also mentioned that the enemy has launched at least 500 missiles and drones toward Ukraine over the past 5 days. The president of Ukraine stated that he and Mr. Sunak discussed expanding military cooperation, with an emphasis on air defense and long-range capabilities. Russian attacks on the city yesterday injured 54 civilians, according to the Kyiv military administration. Vitaly Klitschko, the mayor of Kyiv, initially said that the strikes had injured 49 people and killed 2. One of the largest aircraft attacks against the nation's capital and second-largest city, Kharkiv, in the east, occurred during this raid. Almost the past 5 days, almost 200 innocent Ukrainian and Russian people have lost their lives. The number of civilians killed by missile and drone strikes in Ukraine and Russia since last Saturday exceeds 20, according to new reports. A war analysis group located in Georgia called the Conflict Intelligence Team, CIT, has reported 186 injuries and 27 fatalities in the past 5 days. 2 of the casualties occurred in Russia, while 25 occurred in Ukraine. Russian authorities asserted that 25 Russian citizens were killed by Ukrainian strikes on December 29. The day before the CIT started its tally, according to the British Ministry of Defense, Russia has shifted the focus of its long-range missile campaigns away from Ukraine. The Ministry of Defense has speculated that Russia is preparing for a protracted conflict by targeting Ukraine's defense industry, following last year's attack on energy infrastructure, which plunged Ukrainians into winter's cold. It is quite probable that Russian strategists are aware of the increasing significance of relative defense industrial capabilities as they get ready for an extended conflict, according to the Ministry of Defense. Here is the complete statement for your reference, according to a local official. An elderly man in the Kherson region of southern Ukraine was killed by a Russian artillery fire in Sadov, a few miles north of the closest Russian soldiers across the Dnipro River. The man's corpse was pulled from the debris of a structure that had been destroyed. The assault occurred at approximately 11:10 a.m. local time, 9:10 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, according to Alexander Prokudin, governor of the Kherson area. The goal of the French and Norwegian governments is to help Ukraine become more economically independent and politically stable by fostering a closer relationship between the country and Western arms manufacturers. Following the blocking of shipments in the US and the EU, Ukraine starts the year without any fresh foreign military aid. Prompting these steps, French support for the supply of military equipment is, of course, continuing, declared Gaël Vaissière, France's ambassador to Kyiv, in remarks made earlier today. The objective is to increase weapon production in Ukraine, so it will gradually change its nature from relying only on donations or purchases to doing so. In a recent announcement, the Norwegian government indicated its intention to authorize the direct sale of weapons to the Ukrainian Ministry of Defense from Norwegian enterprises, subject to permission. By doing so, the nations of Norway and France are essentially cut out of the arms donation and purchase processes. Turkey prevents British ships from accessing the Black Sea. And a devastating missile attack by Russia guts Ukraine. Russia has carried out a huge, three-pronged aircraft attack over Ukraine, resulting in 5 casualties and over 100 injuries. One of the bloodiest battles since the war started in February 2022, the assault hit the country's capital Kyiv and its second-largest city, Kharkiv. In the east, air defenses in Ukraine shot down Russian Kinzhal missiles, which can travel at a speed 10 times faster than sound, killing 5 civilians and injuring 127, according to Tuesday evening's statement from the country's Interior Ministry. The Norwegian defense minister announced on Wednesday that 2 F-16 fighter jets will be sent to Denmark to aid in the training of pilots from Ukraine on the usage of the American-made airplane. Last year, Norway announced it would donate F-16s to Ukraine, joining Denmark, the Netherlands, and others in the country's effort to strengthen its air force in the conflict with Russia. Defense Minister Bjørn Arild Gram announced in a statement that Norway has dispatched 10 instructors to Denmark to assist in the pilot training of Ukrainians. The F-35, the next-generation type, has supplanted the F-16s used by the Norwegian Air Force. On Wednesday, the European Union announced that it has sanctioned Alrosa, the largest diamond producer in Russia, along with its CEO. The European Union today blacklisted Alrosa, the world's leading diamond mining company, and its CEO, stated Josep Borrell, head of the EU's foreign policy, on the social networking platform X, in reference to the diamond prohibition that was implemented with the 12th package of penalties. A regional governor in a region of Russia that borders Ukraine has asserted that residents of that region had awoken to the sound of drone and missile attacks for the third consecutive night. The Russian Defense Ministry reported that in the early hours of Wednesday, Kyiv attacked Belgorod with 12 missiles and drones. Russia claims 25 people were killed in an incident last Saturday, and the governor of Belgorod Oblast, Vyacheslav Gladkov, indicated that the situation in the area is still serious. Reportedly, 1 person was murdered and 11 others were injured in another attack that occurred on Tuesday. There is currently no word on how many people were killed in Wednesday's incident. Many Ukrainians living away from the front lines had the unique opportunity to sleep through a night devoid of serious air raid warnings. But the current increase in Russian long-range missile attacks has highlighted the urgent requirement for further military aid from the West to restock and strengthen air defenses. In the last 7 days, Russia has launched dozens of drones and hundreds of missiles, some of which are hypersonic weapons. This morning, Radoslaw Sikorski, Poland's newly appointed foreign minister, stated that the West should increase its military aid to Kyiv in light of the recent attacks on Ukraine. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine met with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak of the United Kingdom to explore possible further support following yesterday's attacks, which were among the biggest since the war started in February. Jake Sullivan, the U.S. National Security Advisor, and Andriy Yermak, Mr. Zelensky's top advisor, met to talk about the same thing. Reportedly, Russian forces have carried out significant bombings for the second consecutive day, according to General Alexander Tarvinsky.